He didn't say it like he was bragging. He said it like he was counting groceries. How much real estate do you own today? He paused, calm, almost bored by the number. About 10,000 units, roughly $2 billion. 10,000. Not one mansion, not one flashy penthouse. 10,000 doors. And the craziest part? When they asked him how he built that kind of empire, he didn't talk about genius. He didn't talk about being special. He said something that sounded almost too simple to be true. One by one. Most people think wealth happens like a movie. A lucky break. One big deal. A secret move nobody else knows. But he described it differently. One by one, man, he said. At first, it wasn't even strategic. That word, strategic, matters. Because people imagine billionaires always had a perfect plan from day one. He didn't. He started with just one. One property. One unit. One step. Then another. And another. And somewhere along the line, he didn't just collect buildings. He collected lessons. He learned what worked. He learned what broke. He learned what to never do again. And slowly, without drama, the snowball turned into an avalanche. But if you asked him what actually created the freedom, what truly separated him from everyone else, he didn't say real estate. He said something most young people ignore. He looked straight ahead and dropped the kind of truth that makes a room go quiet. Your circle of friends is bigger than your paycheck. Read that again. Not your salary, not your degree, not your talent. Your circle. Because your circle decides your standards. If everybody around you thinks small, you'll shrink your dreams to fit in. If everybody around you complains, you'll start believing complaining is normal. If everybody around you fears risk, you'll start calling fear wisdom. So he gave the younger generation a rule. Surround yourself with 100%. Not half-believers. Not people who kind of want it. Not the friend who laughs at your goals and calls it reality. 100%. The kind of people who push you higher just by being near them. But then the interviewer asked the question every young person feels in their chest. Okay, but if you restarting out with nothing, no credibility, how do you build relationships with the right people? And the billionaire didn't hesitate. He said, there are people out there who will help young people. Trust me, that's how I got here. So the question changed. How did someone get your attention? That's when he told the story. He said someone didn't email him a long speech. They didn't beg. They didn't pitch him in a desperate way. They simply walked up and asked. And that's exactly what he did when he was younger. He approached a mentor, someone successful, someone respected, and he didn't start with money. He started with curiosity. He noticed the mentor had 6 kids, and he asked a question that sounded simple but revealed something deeper. How are your kids always around you all the time? Why that question? Because most people only look at rich people's money. But he looked at the rich man's life, his family, his relationships, structure, and the mentor's answer shocked him. The mentor had basically built a business plan for his family and his life. Not just for money, for everything. That moment planted a seed. Successful people aren't just rich. They are intentional. Then came the next question. Did you come from money? He laughed. Oh no, of course not. So what was the turning point? And his answer was clear. It started with mentors. It started with reading books and mentors. Not motivation. Mentors. A lot of people say mentorship is a scam. He said the opposite. Mentorship is 100% real, he insisted. And then he said something even more surprising. He never paid for one my entire life. That line hits hard because today everybody is selling something. Courses, programs, access. But he wasn't talking about a paid guru. He was talking about something old school. He said you can always find that person. You know the type. When you walk into a room, he said, you know who they are. They have presence. They have an aura. They're not loud, but the room feels them. And here's the move. You walk up and say, can I buy you a cup of coffee? And he said most of the time, they say yes. Not because you're special, but because most young people never try. Most people admire from far away. They scroll. They watch. They wish. Few approach. And then he told a story that proved it. He was at a golf event, a country club, music playing, and the lead singer of the band walked up to him mid-event and said, I read your book. Would you meet me for a cup of coffee? He agreed. They met. They became friends. And that young guy ended up buying real estate and changing his own life. That's the power of one bold step. One coffee, one conversation, one door opened. The interviewer said something that mattered. I've interviewed over 30 billionaires, and I've learned the richest people play a different game. Different rules, different thinking, different leverage. And then came the question that always makes people lean in. What's your best tax hack? The billionaire smiled like he was about to reveal forbidden knowledge. Then he hesitated. I don't want to give it up. But then he gave it anyway, because this is what rich people do. They don't just earn money. They engineer money. He talked about a media company involving billboards. And here was the big idea. Certain assets qualify in ways most people don't understand. He explained how billboards can be treated differently than typical real estate in some cases, and how that can create massive write-offs and cash flow depending on structure and local tax rules. But the point wasn't go buy billboards. The point was this: the wealthy study the rules. Then they build their game around the rules. Most people only learn the rules after they lose. Then he said something controversial. The C students run the world, he claimed. The B students work for them, and the A students become the doctors, the lawyers, the accountants. Whether you agree or not, his deeper message was clear. School performance doesn't guarantee wealth. Because wealth is not just intelligence. It's resilience, courage, risk tolerance, communication, and the ability to learn what school never teaches. He admitted he was a C student. And because of that, he said he had to fight harder. He had to learn the system. And once he learned the system, everything changed. He explained it like this. Every time people get their paychecks, they put money in the bank. But that creates a problem for the bank. Now the bank has to pay interest. So what does the bank do? It lends that money back out. Insurance companies do something similar. Retirement funds do something similar. Big institutions collect money from the public, then lend it and invest it into opportunities most people never see. And he said, once you understand the system, you step out of the system and use it to your advantage. And then he added the line that should offend every school on earth. They don't teach that in school. And he was right. Most people leave school knowing how to work, but not knowing how money moves. Then came the question, what's the worst financial advice you hear all the time? He answered instantly, save money. That sounds crazy until you understand what he meant. Because if your money is earning 1-2%, and inflation is quietly eating 2-3%, you're not saving. You're slowly losing purchasing power. You're going backwards. So his argument wasn't never save. His argument was, you can't save your way to wealth. Wealth is built through skills, strategy, and assets that grow or produce cash flow. Then the interviewer asked the question that always reveals the truth. If you had one message to leave the younger generation, what would it be? He didn't say grind harder. He didn't say work more. He said, find a great mentor. Not a loud teacher. Not a fake guru. A real person. Someone who has actually done something. Someone whose life proves their words. He said, dig deep. Find a real person. Pay close attention and listen. Because in the end, the most expensive mistakes aren't made from lack of effort. They're made from lack of guidance. He built 10,000 units. $2 billion. Not overnight. Not magically, but one by one. And if you listen carefully, his secret wasn't real estate. His secret was the right people, the right mentors, the courage to approach, the willingness to learn the system, and the patience to build one step at a time. That's the untold truth. Most people aren't broke because they lack dreams. They're broke because they're surrounded by people who don't understand the game. Change your circle. Find a mentor. Ask for that coffee. And start building your future one by one.